Greetings and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the 1989 release of Donna Summer's Another Place and Time. I almost said In Time, kind of like Sex in the City and how a lot of people think it used to be Sex in the City and now it's Sex and the City. But that doesn't make sense. I mean, Sex and the City kind of makes more sense, I'd say. And Another Place and Time makes more sense with this album. This was released in 1989. A little backstory about Donna Summer. In the 70s, she was the quote-unquote queen of disco, but basically she had a lot of number one hits, a lot of top 10 hits with like disco flavored songs. She was one of the more diverse disco artists. There was nothing really gimmicky about her during her career. Songs like Love to Love You Baby, MacArthur Park, Last Dance, On the Radio, Hot Stuff, Bad Girls, Enough is Enough with Barbra Streisand. A lot of the songs sound relatively different. She didn't kind of stay with one sound. She did a lot of her work with Giorgio Amodio and Pete Ballette, and they're just wonderful, great disco songs that still stand the test of time a lot more than her contemporaries. And what I don't understand about the hatred of disco, I understand there's some disco crazes, like there's disco aerobics and disco this and disco that and disco duck. But disco as a whole has a lot of like soulful influences, jazz influences, soul and R&B influence. And there's a lot of good disco music with great lyrics and great production, and I don't see why out of all music genres it kind of got the most hatred. And in late 1979 they proclaimed disco as dead. So Donna, who was very unhappy with her label at the time, left her label Casablanca and she signed with a new label called Geffen Records. And she took a drastic departure from her disco sound, doing kind of like a new wave rock feel with the album called The Wanderer. Album did okay, and she released some more albums through the years with hits like She Worked Hard for the Money. And through the 80s, she kind of had a Diana Ross type of career where it was successful, but nowhere near as successful as her 70s success. But in 1989, she recorded an album with Stock Aitken and Waterman, who were this powerhouse trio of songwriter producers who did stuff for Kylie Minogue and Dead or Alive. I was gonna say the lead singer's name, and Rick Astley, and a lot more other artists. The sound was big in America, but it wasn't massive. It was more massive in Europe. And that's where this album took off first. She was signed to Warner Brothers and released the album in Europe. It did fairly well, especially compared to her last album before that, All Systems Go, which garnered some moderate hits but wasn't a comeback that I think she was aiming for after the failure of Cats Without Claws in 1984. So this was like her massive comeback. And the song, This Time I Know It Was For Real, was released in the USA. It became a pretty big hit, going to number 3. Number 7. But the album itself was either imported or there was no other option for a little bit. They had distribution problems, but finally she was signed to Atlantic Records, and they distributed the album through the USA, and it finally peaked like in the 50s. So this was her chance to, kind of have a massive comeback. I mean, she has a top 10 hit. It's very popular. It was a very popular song still to this day. It's and in the European market, this album is considered a classic, almost more than her disco days, I would say. I've seen this album pretty much everywhere, and they've even released a 30-year anniversary deluxe edition with new remixes and extended mixes. They were gonna do a second album, her, Donna, and the team, but she couldn't make it to the UK for the recordings, so it never happened. So they ended up giving those songs to somebody else. I will say that Donna did have a little bit of a hand writing some of the songs, but it's mostly written by them, which I think is fine. I mean, if it works, it works. It doesn't matter who writes the songs as long as they're good songs, and she definitely made them her own with the recording of it. And I would say it's one of the strongest, if probably number 2 strongest records by them, and I'm glad that it's getting the recognition that it deserves today. It's still pretty popular, and they just released a Donna Summer box set called Encore, and of course this is on it, and they have a lot of extended remixes as well. Has every CD that she's ever made. I'm not sure why they did CDs. I think vinyl would have been a better idea, just to release all the vinyls and then release crayons on vinyl, which they never have, but they didn't do that. It's just CDs. But this song, album wise, this album is stylistically different from her other work. Her 80s music was a lot of new wave, a lot of, I want to say, like, you have like The Wanderer, which is new wave, and then you have Quiet Storm for Donna Summer with Quincy Jones. Um, she Worked Hard for the Money is very like slick LA pop. Cats Without Claws is a little bit more experimental and not lo-fi, but definitely more layered of pop, more experimental, more courageous pop, I guess. And I would say lyrically her strongest of the 80s. And then you had All Systems Go, which was largely marketed towards the US audience. And it's good, it's bad, it's just kind of there. I would say it's one of her, like, it's now with, like, less of her personality than other albums. She does pretty well in songs like Dinner with Gershwin and Fascination and stuff like that. But I think overall, I think when you make an album for the masses, or like you're trying to like you want people who like dance music and ballads and this and that, then you're reaching too far. There's too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just kind of becomes nothing. With this album, they really had a direction. It's very much the sound of Saw, like 100%. If you like I Should Be So Lucky or Never Gonna Give You Up, you're gonna like the album. It definitely has that magic to it, that sound, some really pristine production. They really put a lot of effort into it. But yeah, let's go through the songs and see if it's actually a good album or just, one good single with a lot of sound alikes. The first song is I Don't Want to Get Hurt. This song is a massive hit in Europe as well. It starts off with like a skip almost. What sounds like you're putting the needle on the vinyl, and it's just a really good song about not wanting to get hurt. I mean, lyrically, these songs are pretty simple, so we're not gonna go too deep into them because they're very simple songs. But I can see like if you're a child and you listen to these songs, you really love it, and you grow up and there's a maturity to it. Donna sings it with conviction and such. It's not just a teen pop idol. It's definitely. There's more depth to it. I think she gives it depth and character. Even on songs like I Don't Get Hurt. Like, you know that song. You know what it's going to be about. But she still surprises you with her vocal delivery and kind of like interpretation of the lyrics. Big hit in Europe. It probably was released in the US, but it wasn't a hit. Like, it wasn't a top hit the way that This Time I Know It's Real. Next song is When Love Takes Over You. A little bit slower. The first song is really like high energy, pump dance music. Song's a little bit slower, and just it's catchy. It's really good. It's like a really well structured, kind of like steps and levels and balances, and just very what do you call it? There's a formula to these songs, and it follows it very well. Great song. I mean, I really like it. It's really catchy. Very strong track. Next song is This Time I Know It's Real, which was the massive single in Europe and the USA. I think everyone's probably heard this on the radio. It's just really catchy. It has like this vocal trick that she does at the beginning of the chorus, where she has like her vocals from the bridge overlapping the new vocals of the chorus. And it's like, wow, that's really good. Like, there's just something about that just hooks you more than most of the songs on the radio at the time. 1989 actually wasn't a great year for music. I know, like, okay, so I know there's Like a Prayer, and there's Paula Abdul, and there's Janet Jackson, and Lisa Stansfield, and Soul, Soda Soul, and a lot more. But if you look at the charts, there's a lot of bad songs. I think Donna deserved better, actually, with this album. I think This Time I Know It's Real should have been number one, but I think because she was a little older, it was kind of like her Believe in a way, where it was like this massive comeback. But I kind of think it deserved better, because 1989, I can't think of, besides like a Prayer and Cold Hard Snake, I think Donna could have been like number 2 at least, one of those songs. I mean, you had like Toy Soldier being number 1. I think Donna deserved a number 1. But it's definitely one of their strongest songs. I remember being a kid liking it, and then I got her greatest hits, Endless Summer, in I think 94. Or sorry, it came out in 94. I got it in like 97 or 98. And I was a pretty big fan of Donna, and I just love that song so much. And it was only one song. Like I said, it was the only song that was famous in the USA from the album. But it's just a great song. The video's cheap. It's cute. It's just her like with some dancers, and it's very much of the Saw era. And also, like, if you notice, like on the cover, she's wearing that hat. You know, they all wore hats, so she had to do that, even though the avant-garde kind of like um, type cover, which the back cover is like very much more fitting of the music, but it was not used for the actual album. Anyways, I'm sorry for the album cover. I think that this was made kind of the way it's done. You can kind of display it like this, and then yeah. So the next song is The Only One. This is a very simple song. It's good, but it's a little fillerish. It's yeah, I think I know the melody. It's like, don't tell me now, the only one. Yeah, I think it was done for filler. I can't see them, like, when you're writing 10 songs for an artist and you're like a factory of hitmakers, you're not really going to. There's any song that isn't extremely strong, you're knowing is not going to be a single. So they probably didn't put as much effort into that song, but it's a good song. Again, it's very much like the Saul sound. It's just slower. The next song is Another Place in Time. Now, this is actually the most serious song on the album, and is not the typical Saul sound. It's kind of like a stereotypical, like, Chinese type vibe with R&B and Quiet Storm, but still pop. Very beautiful, very gorgeous. It's just kind of like this song about two people who want each other, but they can't because of they're both married or they're both someone. It's kind of like a preliminary to like Next Lifetime by Erykah Badu or Ain't It Funny by J-Lo. Just this song about, I want to be with you, but I can't. And the whole thing is another place in time, like someone, just not now, but in another place in time we can be together. It's very, very beautiful, and especially like the last note. Donna's vocals are so underrated. Like, we have all this love for Aretha Franklin and Chaka Khan and Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight, but they do deserve that. But there's something about Donna. She doesn't just have like the prowess and the strength behind her vocals, which she does. She also has like a subtlety to it. She has a character like to it. Like, she takes on this character in the song, and she really, really milks it and makes you feel it in a different way than, say, Aretha Franklin would have sang it. I'm not saying that Aretha deserves less merit at all. I'm just saying Donna is very underrated, and I think it's because of the disco association. It's just a beautiful song. I would say it's her best ballad. I can't even think of a better ballad besides like Winter Melody maybe, but it's a great song. The next song is Sentimental. That's our soft side B. That song's okay. I know, I think it was a single in some markets. It's good, but again, to me, it's a little bit more fillerish. I don't think that it should have started side B, but it's a good song. It definitely fits the record. It's not a bad song. It's just not the best song. It's definitely a song just to listen to during the album, the experience, not necessarily a single type, or the first song, but it also has that stereotypical like Saw sound. Next song is Whatever Your Heart Desires. This is better of a song, but it's still filler. I still like it. Very Saw. I don't know. It's a little bit more uppity beat. Breakaway. So once again, they're getting serious. The song is about like the destruction of a relationship. There's implications that it might be a violent relationship or an abusive, whether verbal or other type of abusive relationship. But to me, there's implication of it where the protagonist needs to break away. I might be looking too much into it. It might just be a bad relationship where they both need to say goodbye, but they don't. I don't know. I want to say that the team went for it with her, because she could sell it. She could really make that work. But I'm not sure. I could be reading too much into it. Leave your comments with your interpretation, what Breakaway is about. Very catchy, very beautiful song. One of the best on the records. I remember when I was listening to the album before I bought the vinyl, I was like, oh wow, that's a good song. And on vinyl, it sounds even better. So, and this is the original release, by the way, of the vinyl, which is the French pressing. So it has a really grainy feel to it, but it's still like, you can tell it's a little more shiny. French albums have less they don't have the ring a lot of time because they don't have that cheap cardboard feel, but they also sometimes have like a grainy feel. So it's like they look good, but they don't necessarily feel good. Both sides. Oh, okay. Man, I can't hold on to anything. The next song is "If It Makes You Feel Good." Great song. Again, it's very soft, very that production. I think it should have been the single, or at least the first song on this side. Just a really great song. Um, just I guess she's kind of like telling him to indulge himself, and if it makes you feel good, do it. You know, she wants him to be happy. It's a little sexist, but I mean, it could also be perceived as she's open minded to any kind of thing that the guy wants, and it could just mean like hold me if it makes you feel good, or let's go for an ice cream if it makes you feel good. But a lot of I interpret it as more like sexually deviant. Not deviant in a bad way. I mean, that's okay. That's great. It's just I can't see Donna actually doing that. She's a born again Christian, so I can't see her singing like overtly sexual songs anymore. But this song kind of is on the fence of that. The last song is Love's About to Change My Heart, which that also was a hit in the European market. An amazing song, just explosion, and has a great ending, great keys, great melody, great conviction, and has like a slow ballad beginning, and then it bursts into dance music. But instead of disco like she did like with Last Dance or On the Radio, this one is late 80s high energy music. So that's the last song. Overall, the album I mean, it's extremely dated, but in a good way. It sounds fresh, but it still sounds very much like, no, you're never going to say, oh, this is early 80s or 90s. It's very much late 80s. Like you can pinpoint the second it was recorded based on the sound, based on like a second of the sound. But it's just, again, she had this power of taking, music that maybe not was the best, but making it better with her voice and her interpretation and her conviction. After this, she released the album Mistaken Identity, which was more of an urban New Jack Swing album with some house touches. Not a great album, and I kind of feel, since she worked with One Team here, I think she could have worked with like Clive and Cole's? Was it CMC Music Factory? Like she could have worked with them, or Black Box or something, like, and had a real like housey music album. Kind of like CC Peniston with some ballads. But no, it's not that at all. She worked with Keith Diamond on that one. We'll review that one later. I don't want to go too much into it. But I think this was her last amazing album. Crayons came out in 2008, which was 17 years later. And I still think that's a good album. It's not great. I think this is her last great album, actually. And she had a lot. Donna was, she had some good albums, some strong ones like Once Upon a Time, Cat Without Claws, Live and More, Four Seasons of Love, I think is an amazing album. And this one. So check it out. I'm sure a lot of you know about it, but check out the album. There is a 30th edition, but if you're not looking to spend that kind of money, just get the regular vinyl. It's usually like $5 to $10 wherever you go. And I got mine pretty cheap. I think it was like $7. And yeah, let's take a look at the record. It's the back cover. So this one looks like she's going to church. Okay. And this one looks like she's going to the club. It has the lyrics and everything. Donna co-wrote a few of the songs, but it's kind of like, I think they wrote it and gave it to her and she changed a few lyrics or maybe a melody or two. And as you can see, this is the European version because it's Warner Brothers. And in the US, it was Atlantic. I wish Atlantic would have pushed her more, I don't get that. You're a celebrity. People like you. People like your songs. The record company should push the music, but they don't. So go out and get a copy, and also check out Donna's other stuff because she has a lot of hidden gems and a lot of great songs that aren't extremely popular. She's one of those artists that definitely needs a little bit of investigation and digging around, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. So yeah, I give this album, I'd say 4 out of 5. I know I don't normally rate albums, but 4.5 out of 5. A little bit of filler, but the filler isn't bad. There's no guest stars, there's no raps or anything like that, so it's pretty great. and definitely check it out. If you're by any means interested in high energy dance music or Donna Summer as a whole. Yeah, and we'll review some more of hers. Let me know in the comments what Donna albums you want me to review, and we will do that. Thanks so much. If you liked the video, like, and if you loved it, subscribe. Have a great day.